Hi, hello, it's thieleaf. It's been a while. There's a lot that's been going on for me. And yeah, I don't really have a plan going into this video other than that I know that I'm not going to edit it because I'm just gonna get it out. For a little bit of context, I had a video I recorded at the end-ish of December, and I edited it all, and then I needed to move one tiny piece over, and that crashed the program, and now I can't open the file anymore. It had been a month since I recorded it, so I decided to re-record and do a new video, and then a bunch of stuff happened after that. My boiler broke, there was water everywhere. I then had a flare-up of health conditions. I then had to go to A&E for a brand new health condition. I'm still kind of dealing with that. Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy one. So yeah, I have a lot to update though, for my journals. So first things first. Well, that's Discord. This is terrible timing, my partner just woke up. Oh no, I'm gonna have to edit now. Shit! Well, okay, whatever, it's fine. So, yes, first things first. This journal, my journal, I'm done with it. And you might be thinking, how are you done with it when you were only about, you know, coming up to halfway through? It's because I cut it in half. So I think I mentioned this before about the way that the Life Noble books are bound, but they are 2 double pamphlet stitches. So these 2 are sewn together, and these 2 here are sewn together, but these 2 halves here are not actually sewn together, they just are both connected to the tape. So I just cut through the tape. There was no cutting through threads at all, it was quite literally just that tape. I am going to put something on the back to, you know, bolster it a little, but it's hard to remember because of the because of losing footage so many times, but I think the last time you would have seen is this, unless that was in my other video. So I'll just flip through the whole thing, and I'll talk as I do it. So these are the washi tape and PET tape kind of stickers on the walls, and then we go here. And I will just flip through pretty fast. Feel free to pause at any point, and just know that pages are much more colourful than they seem. If I hold this right up, you can see that these are actually quite colourful. It's just that my camera doesn't want them to look that way when they're zoomed out. But yes, so I've had a lot of things getting in the way of me doing anything. It's honestly been kind of a whole month since I've journaled properly, which I don't mind too much. You know, my circumstances have been a bit crazy. Sorry for how many times I'm gonna say because I'm not gonna be cutting it out. I'm still a little bit hazy in terms of my brain and thinking, but I really just wanted to, you know, have that kind of connection, I guess, to talk about my stuff and to feel like I can move on from wanting to talk about it, I guess. Not wanting to talk about it, just, I don't know, it's hard to phrase. Trying to hold all the information in my head about when I last recorded, but not when I last recorded, when I last posted something is kind of getting tricky, so I just want to make a video and get it out really quickly to kind of just put it all out there. So we're coming up to the end of December, and there we are. it just kind of happened to be at the end of the year. That wasn't really what I was angling for. I quite literally cut this at the halfway point. It just happened to line up like that. But yeah, so that one's now done with. And I then had a choice about what to move into next, which is kind of why I wanted to cut the book in half anyway. I just wanted to move on a little bit. So I had 3 choices that were available to me. The first one is another life novel, kind of life novel, and it is the Kleid. And this has the 2mm grid, which I'm really excited for, and white paper, which is exciting. Spoilers for something else. You will see one of these is missing. We'll get to that. I didn't go with this. I also bought the Life Pistachio, which is just a single signature book. This one surprised me in that I thought the paper was going to be more cream than it is. It's actually kind of the same whiteness as the Midori MD cotton. So like whiter, I would say on par with like the hobonichi paper, kind of just a slight off-white. The green is really lovely. It's nice and bright. I decided not to use this starting in January because I think this will be really nice for spring and summer. So what I actually went with is in my journal, and it is the Muji. Can I move this just a little bit? I didn't account for the cover when setting up the space. I set up the space, I put stuff around the outside, by the way, so that I know what is in frame and what isn't in frame. So yeah, in this cover I've still got these things. I've got these stickers waiting to be put in the spread when me and my friends finally have our winter holiday get together, which is probably going to happen in early March at this point. We wanted everyone to be there, and things just kept getting in the way, which is quite funny. Yeah, so this is the Muji notebook. This is just the plain grid notebook. It has the this kind of binding, not the ones that come in a pack of 5 where the pages are easy to rip out. This paper is lovely for fountain pens. As you can see here, there's barely the tiniest bit of show through. It actually is showing up more on camera than it is in person. And this is when I do the blobs of ink. So this has a lot of ink there. It's a cream paper, but it's less cream and it's more slightly grey toned. I guess I can compare it to hobonichi paper. We'll see if I can get a good comparison going. If you can see that. It's just slightly grayer. We'll get to this notebook. But yeah, so I'm still using this pencil board because it has my sticker that's placed at exactly the halfway point to make my columns writing easier. Yeah, I started writing music that I'm listening to on these post-it notes. I started that a while back in the Life Novel. Again, sorry that this is all over the place in me explaining things. It's really hard to remember what I've already said. But yeah, and you see even this quite dark ink barely shows through at all. So, but you can see I'm kind of missing days, right? The 11th, the 12th, the 19th. And then this is where I was writing from yesterday. And I'm recording this on the 9th of February. So February actually starts here. So yeah. It's been a rough one. As you can see, I've got like some not feeling too well stickers. I am okay, kind of, I think. I had my A&E visit was because of chest pain, sudden chest pain that was persistent and wouldn't go away. Luckily, it doesn't seem to be a heart or a lung issue. It's like the muscle between the sternum and the ribs. Which, you know, yippee. Fantastic that it's not something that's gonna kill me. But, you know. Yeah, I've got this page mostly decorated. I think I still need a couple more stickers. And then this page is empty so far. And I still do my keeping of an insert of sticker paper. These are some of the next stickers. The theme for this is tiredness and sleepiness and also Animal Crossing. I've been having a very hard time health-wise. I think there was one day where I couldn't even sit at my desk. It made me too dizzy. I basically had to just lie down the entire day. It sucked. Anyway, that's that. That's my journal. We're done with that now. I really want to get through this so fast because I've got so much to talk about. This is my week's. It has the Vocaloid stickers on it. This feels so strange to say because I've already said this like 3 times before to a camera, but you know, things were going really well and then things weren't going really well because everything got hectic for me. I did manage to complete the December tracking for me and my partner. I kind of stopped here on the 18th. I think this is when my boiler broke, maybe. Or maybe it's when my health stuff started. It's really hard to tell. I can just go back through my Discord like calls to tell. I just haven't done that yet. I've been more on top of it for this first week of the month here. We've been rewatching Starstruck Odyssey, D20 Starstruck Odyssey. It's by far our favorite season. It's amazing. Love it. And we also started playing Animal Crossing on an emulator together, which was really fun. Yeah. I also started doing it just as little like scribbles, rather than filling in the box because it was easier to count that way. This gets a little bit hard to count sometimes. Yeah, that's that. My health tracking has been something that has really had to shift a lot. So when it started, it was kind of normal. I did have a really weird issue with this pen. I don't think I'll go into it too much, but I think it was clogged. And then when I first started writing with it with a different ink, it I think was also still clogged, and then it unclogged, but then it was way too wet for me and it kind of freaked me out and I didn't like it, especially because it was a dark ink. But also the paper, this paper is lovely. Gosh, just thinking about how much stuff I've recorded. This ink is the Diamine Cinnabon, so this is a scented ink. I'm even using it in a stamp. And there is no feathering, there's no bleed through. It's wonderful. But yeah, so I was kind of on track for doing my health tracking normally, where I have like symptoms and stuff and I take them off and then I write, you know, more detailed stuff. And then things just went crazy. And so things started becoming more like this. And apparently I didn't write anything for this week. And this is really funny because this is when I started having the chest pain. So like there's a lot going on through here, but it was all kind of the same stuff, and I also felt terrible and unwell. So I've got like a new type of headache, which is concerning. Actually, I have to put forward the like not application for an appointment, but like, you know, the information, and then they decide whether they're going to give me an appointment on the same day or like a routine appointment. Maybe by the time this video is out, I'll have done that and I'll have seen them in person, or maybe not. But yeah, I've got a new type of headache in my temples, and it's like a sudden stab. And then it's gone really quickly too. but I've never experienced that before, and it's been happening since I had the chest pain, which is a little scary. Yes, anyway. More symptoms of stuff. Oh, and then there's the weird congestion thing too. So like if I tilt my head forward, sometimes I get that like sinus pain. You know, like when your nose stings when you're at a swimming pool, like that. But then very recently, again, since the chest pain, sometimes if I tilt my head at the wrong angle, I don't know what the wrong angle is, it seems to change, but like, it almost feels like I'm having a nosebleed. Like it feels kind of like that sinus pressure thing, but it feels kind of wet, but there's no like, my nose isn't running or anything. It's strange. I don't know how to describe it. Very strange stuff, which is why I've got this little section here of like, okay, these are the bullet points I want to tell the doctor. Yeah, anyway. I guess I can move my marker here now since it is the Monday. My planning has been terrible because, you know, I've been trying to keep going. The Animal Crossing update did come out, which was really fun. But then it made me play Wild World instead. I do really love New Horizons. I just think it has an entirely different game philosophy than previous Animal Crossing games. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, it's just... Sorry, I had to change my position. Yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just like something to consider, that it's not trying to do the same things that other games are doing. But yes. I went out for a lovely walk with one of my friends. We went to the woods, which was ill-advised. I should not have done this. Should not have done this, and it made me terrible. Like, I couldn't stand up at all. And then I had plans to do something else with friends, which is crazy anyway, that I was trying to do 2 things in a week. And they ended up coming over to me because I could barely stand. Anyway, this has been going great. I've been tracking my nail polishes, which have been, you can tell I've been doing bad because I've been doing like 1 set of nails a week rather than normally every 4 days. Yeah, that's how you know it's been bad. My logging went really well until it stopped. So here is where it starts. It was going really great. And leaving space too for days that I didn't quite get to, like here there's some, you know, missed days, but there's like a set aside amount of space. And then the last time I did anything was the 16th of February. No, not the 16th of February, the 16th of January. And it's not the 9th of February, so, you know, I dropped my... I've got this lovely jelly cat just kind of sitting on my lap. Yeah, I'll have to figure out what I'm doing with that. If I'm going to count out the spacing, because that would be quite a bit, right? 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, that would put me all the way over here, which is several pages. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I want to have some record of things, just not as detailed. I'll put that there for now. Yeah, I wish people weren't so loud outside, but I can't really do anything about that. I'm using this piece, I'm using this part to track books. So far I've got some novellas here, although I did finish a book. I haven't put that in here yet. I'll have to do that. Yeah, these are a collection of novellas by the same person. I just put them in one thing because they are, you know, ebook novellas. I have some music things. I guess I'll show this. I did unfortunately write one of them twice. I wrote Human by Flavor Foley, forgetting that I'd already written Human Static and Spoken For, like quite literally right above it. But yeah, that's some of my music that I've been listening to. This is to track music that I have downloaded and tagged. It has to be tagged. I don't use streaming for my music anymore. I say anymore, I stopped this like 3 years ago. It's great. I love having my music. People are so loud. Okay, hopefully I cut that bit out, and I remembered to cut that bit out. There's people outside being really loud. Yeah, having my music, I mean, it's all digital, but you know, just having it that's mine is great. I'm using, it's turned off because the battery is terrible, but my old phone, oh no, don't look at me, look at you, there you are. This is my old phone that I am using essentially as an MP3 player. I do have an iPod, a modded. I really hope I didn't lose a whole bunch of footage there. My camera just like, my phone just like closed the camera. I don't know why. Okay, well, anyway, I've got my old phone as an MP3 player. I had to get a new phone because this one only has 3G capability and 3G is now gone. So I just had this. I do have an iPod that is modded, but it needs to be repaired, and I just don't have the energy to do that, and I also don't have the funds to do that right now, so like, yeah. It's turned off right now because the battery isn't very good, but the battery is very good for using as an MP3 player and only turning it on when I go out, so yeah. I could keep all of my music on this, but it drains the battery to use this as a phone and also an MP3 player, so you know. Anyway, that was a tangent. I didn't need to go on it, but music, it's very fun. And my goal is to have 100 albums by the end of the year at least. And I have these little dot markers of kind of each month. So like this is December, January, and February, right? For these little dots. So I'm like on track for getting there. This is my currently inked. Or inked in December. This is the pen that freaked me out and that I re-inked, but it's also still too wet, even with this one, so we'll see. Again, the idea here is that this is winter, spring, summer, autumn. So yeah, there's that. And then I'm not really using anything else, so. Yeah, there's that. I don't have a cover on this, and it is starting to get a little grimy in places, but I don't really mind. These Vocaloid puffy stickers are holding up really great. They do sometimes pop off a little bit, but they're easy to just press back down. And I've left a lot of space because I imagine I'll want to add more stickers as time goes on. Okay. I'm gonna have a drink of my tea for a second, so I'm gonna pause this recording. So I hopefully don't have to edit too much. It is a salted caramel chai from Bird and Blend. It's delicious. I ended up drinking it all. It was starting to get a little bit too warm rather than hot, so that's done with now. I did get to think about what I would talk about next. I really want to talk about my sketchbook. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I've been wanting to talk about this for literally ages. Oh, actually, I might have to just cover a couple things first. Okay, there we go. I've been wanting to talk about this one for a while. It is the Midori MD Cotton sketchbook. It is in the F0 size. You may have seen, I made a short of some of my inks on this paper, which is in this book. The sizing is really off for this card. I plan on cutting it down. But if you can see here, I sewed this. Really very easy to do. I have swatches of all of the inks that I own, which is really fun, especially on this paper, which I really, really love. I might talk about this a little bit more in a bit. It does now mean that I've got, if I take out my, I'm sure you can maybe see here that there are some like gaps in the spine from where the pages have been taken out. This just means I'm going to get through this book quicker and then I can get to the square one. When I bought this, it was like 2 months before they re-released the A5 size and the A5 square size, which also have covers. And I was a bit gutted that I didn't hold out just a little bit longer on this book. But, you know, I'm determined to use this before that happens, before I actually get the square book. So, some pen tests, more medium tests. I started this in 2024. I have not been doing very much art. I think I've said this before, art is very scary to me. It didn't used to be, it used to be like my whole thing between like the age of 9 and 19. And then I developed other hobbies and stuff, and then my skill didn't progress, and then because I was doing art less, there was more pressure to make it worth it when I did do it, and a whole mess. So I'm trying to be intentionally keeping this quite messy, you know, stuff like this. And I kind of rediscovered drawing in fountain pen ink, but specifically with Copic markers. I guess this is that page where I kind of rediscovered that, which is almost an entire year ago now, which is crazy. But I was using the Sailor Perfect Junior Fude pens, with the nib like that, if you don't know what a Fude pen is. Really fun for, you know, really thick lines, but also really thin lines. Especially you can even hold it this way and get some really, really tiny lines. Very fun, and fountain pen ink is water-based and alcohol ink is alcohol-based, and so there is no kind of smudging that happens, which is great. Also, because I like using inks that are a bit glittery, I'll see if the flash will show it. Is it visible? Obviously you can see the shimmer on the lines, but I wonder if it's visible that it's kind of all there throughout the rest of the drawing. Just a little bit. I have a thing in the middle of my the screen on my phone, so I can't see if any of that was in focus. But yeah, I originally bought these pens for that purpose anyway, for drawing. This is my old Midori MD book, which was meant to be a sketchbook and then became not a sketchbook. Very quickly became just throwing things at it, because it kind of coincided with when I first started using fountain pens. But I did still do some drawings. Like you can see this one. I like drawing straight in pen with like no pencil, because it keeps me from being too precious with things. Like you can see here. It's actually quite funny. This character, I knew what I was doing, and so the pink sketch that was the pink was the first thing I was doing. It's pretty on par with like where the purple is, but then this one I really had to sculpt that out and find where all of that was. But yeah, here is when I started using Fude pens. Really fun, I really like it. But I hadn't considered at that point using them with Copic markers. I still really loved using these chunky Koino pens. This was me. I drew this leaning back and with my head tilted to the side, which I don't know why I did that. So I was looking at it like this the whole time I was drawing it, and then the face is very diagonal, but you know, whatever. This was me testing the size for the F0 before I bought it. This is testing the paper for drawing, because I do have a pack of it. Yeah, just some more drawings in that. But you can see that this is very sketchy. I do like this drawing. It was a friction pen, I believe. Yeah, truly this has become a bit of a scrap book. Oh, my broken dip pen. I can talk about that here quickly. My my wonderful glass sleeve pen, dip pen, which has a lovely fine nib, broke. And I don't know how visible it is, but it broke at a perfect angle there. I still need to sand it a little bit because it's a little bit sharp, but it now is really, really thick. It used to be this thin thickness, the same as the Hokuro, but wetter, and now it's like this, which is kind of fun. But some Resident Evil notes. We started playing, me and my friends started playing Resident Evil together, the first game. Very fun. Anyway, yes. The Fude pens with the Copic markers is really fun. These were only like putting colors down quite lightly. I wasn't really trying to go very far with them. And of course it does bleed through because it's alcohol markers and that's just what they do. But I do really like the way that alcohol markers sit on midori cotton paper. There's something really lovely about the way they kind of bleed into each other. And the way that it just saturates the page. It's very lovely. It unfortunately does not take nail polish, which is what these are. Tried to draw outfits that I wore, but then I gave up on that. Started drawing with the fountain pens that I was just using for writing with, which was quite fun. Enjoyed that a lot. Some pigment inks with foraged materials that my friend got for me at some kind of like a market thing. That was very fun. Yeah. And as you can see, I'm keeping things very messy on purpose. It helps to keep from being too stressed about it. Using diluted ink in the background. This is very, very pink in person, but it's just not going to show up. It's Diamine Peach Haze. And yeah, then drawing with wistful watermelon, and then kind of solidifying some lines with that Peach Haze again in the pen that it was inked in. Oh, and I started drawing these bars. It kind of makes this roughly the size that the square book will be. This one was really fun. I do have the footage of sketching this, but I'm not going to put this in the video because moving the sketches for this is what crashed my software when I was making the videos that got lost, so I won't do that. But yeah, sketching in this light color, solidifying those lines in this color, and then deciding that I'm actually going to use Copic and pencil to kind of bring it to kind of completion, which was really fun. You will notice a tiny bit of bleed through here. In general, this paper does not bleed through, but if the page becomes too saturated with hand oils, it will. But by too saturated, you can see there's some bleed through here from this stuff. But you see it didn't bleed through like anywhere else. It's just here. And it's because this is where I hold the paper to turn it. Normally when I'm writing on, you know, other papers, I use something to like rest my hand on so I'm not getting handlers on the page. And I don't do this with the sketchbook, and everything is fine other than these tiny corners, because that's where I hold the paper, and I sometimes rub it and I touch my face and then touch this. And so all of these places where it has bled through have all been in the same place, and actually the paper feels a little weird in that spot. So what I'm saying is I don't think it's like an actual problem unless you're touching the page loads. Doing drops in the backgrounds of pages and then drawing over them, and also drawing something to completion even when I don't like the bones of the drawing. I think this wing is terrible. I think it would look so much better if it was cut off like here. But yeah, I really like getting to see the sketch underneath. There we go. Getting to see the sketch underneath everything, I think is really, really fun. I'm enjoying this, even though I'm not doing it very often. Doing some figure studies and starting to use water. So sketching in pen and then using water. I think I can show a couple little bits like here with the, or this bit will be better. You can see here the way that the ink is separating is really fun. But still leaving behind some of the sketch lines. And some inks do really fun things, like this is Seila Yorabeku Yoi, and it really splits into some fun colors. Suki Kokoro really splits into fun things as well, and leaves behind the lines. Yeah, and then this is where I have my 2 pens that I had inked for writing, and then decided I want to use these for drawing, and so I diluted them quite a lot with water. So it is this Twisby Eco Amazonite and an extra fine nib. They're both extra fine nibs actually. And this one has Dominant Industry. What is it called? Le Fallace Etretat. I think that's my best approximation. I'm really bad at French. And that's this lovely blue, and then this one is First Press Bumbling Blossom, and this is the glow green color. And I think they layer really lovely together. There's something very fun about that. And you can see it's very sparkly under the right conditions. The too cute there is not actually about, it's not like an exclamation of like, you know, oh, too cute. It's more that this character doesn't actually look that cute. Anyway, some I'm really not good at drawing things with this kind of proportion. This was one of my Tamagotchis. Drawing Animal Crossing characters. This is my Wild World town on my DS. Honestly, what amazing. I was referencing directly the Wild World, what are they called? Renders. The wolf models are messed up. They look really strange. I did my best, but like the model itself looks incredibly wrong in the pose that it's in. Yeah, very much not my shape language in terms of drawing. Yeah, and then there's some more tests about pens and how they, or not pens, inks and how they separate. So you can see some things like this. Like Hara Hara kind of stays behind the Kicha also and has some weird colors. 252. But then things like Ferris Oppress Adventurine just disappeared into absolute nothing. So that's really fun to kind of play with that. And I think that's it. I think I've just got some pages already set up with some ink. I did this straight from the pens and then just used some water. And again, very sparkly. There's so much sparkle all over this page. Even this one too. I think it shows up less on this one. There we go. Very fun. Anyway, sorry, I rambled a lot. I now have way less pages because I cut the strings to pull out pages. But I kept the ones that were like glued to the book. I did originally do some swatches in the back here. I did them in a different way. I kind of gave up with that at some point. Here. But yeah, I also have this drawing that I did in, I believe, 2017 of Magnus Adventure Zone. The washi tape is not sticking very well anymore. But yeah, this is my piece of slightly thicker paper that I used to just catch all of the bleed through. I had originally thought to use a pencil board, but because a pencil board doesn't absorb any of the excess ink, it kind of did this weird thing where like the ink would then the ink would touch the pencil board and stay there, and then the next time the pencil board touched the paper, it would all just like touch the paper and like absorb up into it, and that was a mess. So you want something a little bit absorbent. Yeah, anyway, that's this. Sorry for talking about it so much. I just I've been trying to show this off for a while now. Not that I particularly want to like show off my art that much, but just that I'm excited that I've been actively getting into it again. I did cover some things that were a little bit too suggestive to show to YouTube, I think, but you know. Yeah, I'm excited to get through this and then get to have the square shape, partly so that I can have a cover so that it's not really grimy and like frayed. The griminess isn't so much the problem, it's that the edge here, you won't be able to see it on camera, but it's really like frayed and feels weird. Yeah, anyway. Some other things I've been doing. I guess leading on to that swatches and paper, I did do these two books. So this one, which was for the swatches on midori cotton, and I did water tests on all of them to see what they leave behind, which I find fascinating. There are some inks that are shocking, like Sailor Mizutama Yasui basically does not move at all, which is interesting. Neither does Lavender Frost. It seems to be a lot of grey inks that do this. But yeah, like inks like these, where they leave behind the line, they leave a stain, but they also have some really fun colour splitting. Very fun. Very good potential for drawing with, I think. Yeah, White Rabbit there has leaves behind that grey. I just think it's very fun. Can't wait to play with that. And I did do a video going through these. So there's this one, and then there's this one made with the Kleid paper, which also again is just taken from the book and sewn pretty basically. I went with every other hole that was already in the paper for that one. But yes, that is why my Kleid book looks like this. So this is still intact as one solid piece, but yeah, after I use the pistachio one, I think I'm going to bind this one up and use this one as my next book. Or maybe my copy paste. I'm considering that too. Okay, other things. I guess I can talk about my copy paste since I just mentioned it. There hasn't been a lot of action going on in here, although I did change my layout a little bit. This is the layout I have been going with. So you can see I've got the ink name and brand, and then the pen name and brand, and I've got these margins and So the copied text is in these pieces, and then my thoughts are in the columns. And I write some pretty large entries, so sometimes there's not information in every single, you know, thoughts section. But here's where I changed that. I'm sorry for the people outside. Ow! That was the headache. That was my brain being stabbed. Now it's over. Is that really concerning? It's hard to tell. But yes, so now I'm still doing these columns. But let me get it to a nicer page to look at. I guess this is a nicer page to look at. I'm still doing these both columns, but now I'm only doing the ink and pen information here. And I'm writing it nice and big so that you can see shading and stuff. And then I'm writing when I inked the pen and then when I wrote the page. Where's the... Oh, okay. No, not that one. Sorry, I'm flipping around all over the place. Where's the... Hold on, what? I'm so confused. There it is. I knew this was here. So this is Diamine Cinnabon. Wanting to show this just because when I write large, it has some lovely shading. But in my normal handwriting that is comfortable for me to do, there is barely any shading at all. And I can kind of write a little bit bigger, but this is really hard to write at this size, which is why I'm kind of excited for the Kleid paper. This is actually a test piece of paper for my swatches, because I was doing a lot of like writing tests. So you can see that on this 2mm grid, I can actually quite comfortably write on every single line. I won't do that when I use this as a journal. I will use it every other, more like this, just because writing every single line on this is going to take forever to get through the book. And even on my Kabako mediums, there's still, I'm quite able to write on every line. This is a Sailor medium, and it's still fine, but I would be writing more at this spacing. But, I guess you can see here me saying that there's a really fun option of forcing to write larger by using the grid itself. I did have to write really, really slowly to do this, but I might get to see more shading and fun things if I force myself to write much larger than I'm comfortable with. And I mean, I actually haven't written with this pen yet, but I mean, really, to compare the size going on here, this is you know, quite different. I wish I could write bigger because I love getting to see things like the shading, but it hurts my hand too much. I can't write more than, even writing like the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, I only get about halfway through before it starts really hurting my hand. So, you know, you can see here the difference in color. But yes, I've got some of these written up, and I shouldn't have done it this way, partly because this one that I had talked about that suddenly unclogged and became way too wet, I've already written this in here with this ink color, but this pen now has a different ink in it. So I might have to like refill it with this ink. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Yeah, I'm also, because of all of my being behind in my journal and stuff, I'm kind of behind in my inks. So I currently have from here, from Wishing Tree, all of these I have inked at the moment, which is a little unfortunate. Mostly because I want to move on and I want to have some other inks, but I want to use them first. That's important to me. And then I only have so much space. So I use this, these are kind of pen and ink combinations that I'm done with mentally, but I still want to write in my copy paste. And then I've been keeping these two in here too, just so that they're not exposed to too much UV, since they are TWSBIs. I've got this pen, which has a diluted Sailor ink in there. It's diluted a lot with water. I haven't been using it a lot though, so I might have to unink it. I have this pen just because it's a bit too chunky to fit into my main pen case. And then the way that I store my pens normally that I'm using is this, which sits just next to me, right there, on my desk. And I store them like this. My kavakos go in the gaps in between. Apparently so is this Jean Howe 82. I technically have 2 more slots, though I don't think I want to ink anything up right now, although I know what I'll be inking next. Yeah, I did have a brand new pen model to me, actually. I don't normally get new models. You'll notice all of my stuff is TWSBI Ecos, Kaweco Sports, Sailor Profit Juniors, Sailor Perfect Casuals, and Sailor Pro Gear Slims. And that's kind of it. And my TWSBI Ecos are all in fine and extra fine. My Kavecos are, I have 1 silver, 1 gold, extra fine nib, and then I have fine and a couple mediums. And then my, obviously the Perfect Juniors are all in medium fine, and the Perfect Casuals are all in fine because that's all that they come in. But yeah, I have a new model of pen, which is the hand-finished steel nib, and it's the Perfect Casual L. I probably should make a whole video about this because I think the naming the naming system has been tripping a lot of people up. I got this one in a medium fine nib size, just because I prefer that size. This is the same body kind of shape and size as the Sailor Profit L, which I believe in, well, not I believe, I know, which is called the 1911 L. There's a whole thing where like Profit and Pro Gear were meant to be like, you know, sister lines of pens, one with the pointed tops and one with the flat tops. So Profit is this one and Pro Gear is the flat ones. But when releasing them internationally, they realized that profit looks like the word profit, and they didn't want that kind of connotation. And so they just changed it to be 1911. But so anytime you see 1911 or profit, that's interchangeable. And in fact, on their English website, they refer to the Profit Juniors as 1911 Juniors. That's how interchangeable it is. Anyway, so the Profit Casual, like normal ones, which are mostly in the Shikiori line, there's also the, they have one that's called a different name, I can't remember what it's called, but they have a steel nib. It's actually really, really lovely. We'll focus. It's a really, really lovely steel nib. only comes in fine. This is the size of the 1911S. This is the size of the 1911L, and you can tell because they are a different size here. I did see a weird rumor, and I don't really know how it started, that these Perfect Casual L's with the hand-finished steel nib have the same base nib as the, like, compass, and I don't know how that rumor started because it's incredibly not true. Like, that one's a weird nib that I messed up. It's like incredibly not true. I think they just thought that they looked kind of similar and so decided that they were the same. I don't think I'm going to be able to get close enough. They're a different shape, for one. They have a different amount of curve to them. This one is longer. Yeah, it's very strange. I don't know why that rumor started. Anyway, I'm sorry, I am really, like, rambling. I haven't got to talk about my stuff in a while, so, yeah, I'm really enjoying this, although it doesn't have as much feedback as I would have expected. It's fun. It was a bit of a lower cost way to test if I liked the Pro Gear size, because if you remember what I said about them being sister brands, the 1911S, the Profit, just the Profit S and the Pro Gear Slim, are the same size. Obviously these have different nibs, but hopefully you can see that the sections here are the exact same. Quite literally the difference between a Pro Gear Slim and a 1911S is just the finials. And that's really all that it is, but I think the finials do add a different, like, degree of weight balance, and so they can feel a little bit different. But yeah, okay, anyway, let's move on. Oh, this one doesn't have as big of a nib, though, I believe, as the L, the 1911 or the Profit L. I believe the nib is a little bit shorter, which is great for me. I think I would actually not like the length of the nib in the Pro Gear or 1911 L size. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Oh, actually, speaking of the pens, there is this pen. I think I talked about this in the video that released, I hope. It's hard to tell if it was the video that released or the video that I lost. But yes, this is a Platinum Preppy that I only use for my pocket notebook because I can only really open it easy when I've got a whole book to hold on to. Because if it is just separate, I struggle to open it. I am getting through. I don't know how well it will show up. The ink is down to about here now. You won't be able to see it because I have to turn the pen at an angle. The ink is down to about here. So that's fun. The ink is Tsukikokoro Yurameku. Oh yeah, the Yurameku ink by Sailor, and the color is Tsukikokoro. So I've changed up a little bit of the system of how I've been using it. I've got a Pokemon card wrapped in tissue paper as like a blotting paper. I believe it's Galarian Corsola. You can only slightly see it. It was just what I had on hand. So I was doing a whole system where I would do this to signify that I've taken the information from there. I started doing it differently now. I'm just crossing things out when I'm done with them. And yeah, I was kind of using these quarters to do stuff. But I think it started when I had the weird doctor trip that I had to do. Where I was on the bus and was like, okay, I'm going to use some different symbols for the kind of things that I need to be talking about so that I can easily see what kind of information is there. So the star is for character thoughts, the Square is for like things I need to get. So like shopping lists essentially. The circle is for a thing that happened in that day that I want to remember and write about later. I switched these two around. So the circle, like the spiral, is musing, so just kind of thoughts that I have that I might want to put in my journal to just kind of like, I've had a brief idea of a thought and I just want to think about that deeper. And then the little tilde is going to be the a thing to research later. Triangle is a task to do, and then a asterisk is a meteor observation. So I start doing that here. I did also, though, as I was on the bus to the doctor's appointment at when I had my chest pain and stuff, I had to be, it was like an 1.5-hour bus journey. So I was writing down symptoms as they were happening, so that I would have, oh yeah, actually no, that wasn't here, that was over here. You know, like writing every single time I had a sharp pain, how that pain was developing, any other symptoms I was feeling, if I was having pain anywhere else, just so that I would be able to bring that to the doctor. But yeah, this is how I've been using this. Obviously it's only been going for a few pages, but I feel like this is a better system and it's working a little better for me, especially in terms of being able to write in my journal and then be able to flip back and be like, there's the spiral symbol, this is a thing I wanted to talk about in there. So yeah, that's been really fun. The plastic cover is getting really beat up. I am gonna have to like find a solution for that. But we'll see. Unfortunately, this is just such a good, the fact that the cap stays attached so I don't have to do anything with the cap, I don't have to hold it, and I will either hold the book in this horrible weird claw grip to write on this side, or generally we'll hold it like this to write on this side. Yeah, it's great. Oops. Yeah, occasionally this happens though. And it's just because the plastic is getting a little bit worn out from having this pen here. Yeah, okay, there's that one. And maybe I can finally talk about the reading notebook that I made. So I did have a reading notebook that was, so it was kept in this same notebook cover. So it was just another one of these, the Hobonichi A6 plain grid notebooks. But it was too separate from where reading happens for me. So I decided to go back to kind of what my original reading notebook was, which was just the week's size memo notebook. And because it just slips into a book really easy. So there's the book I'm reading at the moment, there are tabs, and here is this. It's also a postcard, which I'm using as my bookmark. Ah! Oh no! There you are. So this just slips really easy into the book. It's the same system as what I had in the book that was like this. Except I'm being even more messy with it. You can probably already see that there are some paper issues here. It's actually worse in person than it is on camera. But this is just a TWSBI Eco with diamine autumn oak and an extra fine, and it is bleeding through quite a lot. You know, diamine cashmere rose in a Sailor Perfit Junior, you know, not the wettest of nibs, and it's bleeding through. There's even things like Colorverse Taepyeong Songdae in the Jinhao 82. Although it's a Jinhao 82 with a Kaweco extra fine nib, and hopefully you can see that it's actually feathering a lot. It's feathering a lot, and again, bleeding through. And I have a massive preference for dry pens and dry inks, so it's a little bit much. Sela Yuramaku Yoi in a perfect casual with a fine nib. And it is, again, it is bleeding through. Thistle. Yeah. So that was this notebook. I kind of knew that this was going to happen because just because it's a new cover doesn't mean it's new paper, because of how plain notebooks like this are being made. They don't set aside specific paper blocks to be used for specific covers. They just have the paper blocks and then attach covers to them. Obviously the paper in the weeks I've had, it's been wonderful. It's actually somewhere between 2024 Sanzen and original Tomorrow paper, including color changes. I think I talked about that actually. Wait, did I talk about that? I think I did. Because I have an unlisted video about that. Really good. This, not so much. The paper tests were horrible. Yeah, I did some writing. You can see this is horrific. The fact that it bled through to here, and bled through there. But yeah, even things like, yeah, Twisby Eco, Extra Fine, Diamine, Ultimate Oak, and it's bleeding. I don't know how to make it obvious that it's bleed through and not show through. Yeah, I mean, there are things here too where this one is like, I believe, Diamine Wistful Watermelon, so like a really diluted, very pale, very dry ink, and it was bleeding through. It was crazy. Even Sela Yurameku Seki in a Kaweco Sport medium was feathering. I don't know if it will show up on camera, but it's like feathering and bleeding. It's, you know, a mess. So I did that same trick, as you can kind of see here probably. There we go. You can kind of see that. Where I just cut the strings and I took out the pages that weren't glued. Obviously these pages are glued to the spine, so I'll keep them. This might make for a good like scrapbook or something very collagey, because there's going to be all of the space in the spine for it to, come on. There's going to be all of that space in the spine eventually. But yeah, so I just slipped this into the book because I often read when I am on the bus somewhere, and so it makes it easy to slip in and out. And I just, I decided on this one that I was going to leave a little margin for the page number. I then didn't do that for this because this was a novella, an ebook novella, so there were no page numbers. I am going to be cutting off this last square, which is why I keep doing pen tests. I'm mostly only using this pen that I have. This specific Progress Slim has a bit of a dodgy nib that's really, really dry. So even though it's got Tachia Tsuchi in it, which is quite a wet ink, it isn't bleeding through, or at least not nearly as much as anything else. It's showing through way more than it should, but it's not bleeding through because it's so dry. So I've been using this mostly. But yeah, my method for that, I think I've talked about, it's kind of the same as it still has been, where I tab things as I'm reading them, and then I go through them and I pull out the tabs as I'm, you know, done writing that down. I did used to write down my thoughts as I was reading, but it was taking me out of the book too much. So just tabbing it and then going back to it later is what works for me. I can't not do this. I have a lot of observations about things. I cannot turn my brain off. And they are both observations in a kind of what does it get called? It gets called like Watsonian and no, what is it? I can't remember. Essentially in universe to the book observations, so like what character motivations might be, why a character might do something, what an action a character does implies about that character and how they think about things and that kind of thing, or like world building implications, stuff like that. And then there is also more meta-analysis of things like why a character might have been made the way that they were made, why certain choices were made by the author, right? And sometimes there's an interesting crossover between those two. And I've started doing something similar in this book, which was my character thoughts notebook. Character thoughts being about like personal characters. I can't really show very much of this, but I have always struggled with writing fan fiction, or fiction in general, just, you know, writing, probably because of the undiagnosed dyslexia. And what I have instead done for a really long time is just kind of write down my ideas about characters, just kind of bullet point, and that really works for me, and I really enjoy that. It allows me to have a record of my thoughts about characters. So that's what I do. And then I found the midway point of this, though, and started writing media observations. So this is about Beauty and the Beast. I wrote Sleeping Beauty. It's not Sleeping Beauty, it's Beauty and the Beast. I believe I wrote Sleeping Beauty because I had been watching the ballet, like right before. I have a lot of thoughts about Beauty and the Beast, though. There's a lot to do about how the curse was made and the what the people writing it think about punishment, and how that the overall opinion that punishment is good, and like implications about the curse and how the curse works. There's some really weird stuff going on there. But yeah, even like Tokyo Mew Mew, the anime, and like I think I had some like more character-based thoughts, and then I also had a whole bunch of observations about like just the creation of Pudding as a character, and there's some dodgy things going on with that. Anyway, even things like Silent Hill observations, Princess Zorch from T20 Starstruck. Yeah, I like doing that. It gives me a place to put these thoughts. I try to write a little bit neater, so that it's readable. But yeah, and these stamps that I've been using for this and my reading notebook, I said stamps like it was plural, it's one stamp. It is the Bamkuchen stamp. It is a date stamp. I hold it at an angle, you'll be able to see the actual thing. I did cut out the logo though, because I didn't want that. I just needed a stamp that had the date lines and it had like the space to do this. So like so like here we have Tokyo Mew Mew, and then I have up to episode 36 because that's where I was at the time of writing this. Yeah, that's how I've been using that. I do still have a bunch of writing. This is all really old. This is like 2017 stuff, but writing on the like receipts. Like this is receipt paper. like you can this is receipt paper that I was writing on. So I eventually plan on copying these. Also, you can see that my handwriting has been this size for a long time. Truly, it is my handwriting size. And that's just kept in there for use later. I don't think there's anything in that pocket. Yeah, okay, that's that. I feel like I've been rambling for so long now that I don't actually know what I've talked about. Let me pull this up just so I've got something in front of me. I do have quite a few like silent recordings of me just doing writing and journaling and stuff, and I'm thinking rather than upload them to this channel, maybe I make a second like B-sides channel just for like no talking, like background videos essentially. Just because like I feel like people who want to hear someone talk about their journal stuff, there's crossover with people who just want someone doing stuff in the background, but they're not necessarily the same person, and I've got quite a lot of those videos, and I feel like maybe it might be too annoying for the people who don't want to see that to be having a bunch of those videos. So I might make a second channel for that. We'll see. It also means that I can delete the things. I can delete those recordings and I don't have to worry about them anymore. They don't have to be taking up space on my phone or my computer. Yeah, sorry, I'm just like flipping through stuff, moving my hands as I do stuff. I think that's it. Sorry that this has been so rambly, especially because I have already said that I'm not going to be editing it, or at least very, very minimally editing it. And I know that I say a lot, and I know that I pause in weird places, and I also know that my voice will have changed tone throughout the course of this video. That's just kind of what my voice does as I talk. I hope I said all the things I wanted to say. I don't know if I actually did. Yeah, okay. I think that's it. I think that's it. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah. Okay. Bye.